Welcome to this episode. The landscape of modern-day Zimbabwe in southern Africa is punctuated by ancient stone structures, silent yet eloquent testimonies of a sophisticated civilization that once flourished there. Among these, the most renowned is Great Zimbabwe, a sprawling complex that has fascinated historians, archaeologists, and travelers for centuries. Yet, beyond Great Zimbabwe lie other significant ruins, each with its own story to tell, such as the sites of Kami, Danamombe, and Nalitale. These stone monuments are not just relics of a bygone era, they are symbols of African ingenuity, cultural richness, and historical depth. However, the history of these ruins is not merely a tale of African achievement. It is also a story of colonial ambition, of how European powers sought to rewrite history, claiming these magnificent structures as products of a supposed lost white civilization, thereby undermining African contributions to world heritage. This video explores the significance of Zimbabwe's stone ruins and delves into Europe's futile attempt to appropriate this African legacy. The most famous of these ruins, Great Zimbabwe, located near the modern town of Masvingo, is among the largest ancient stone structures south of the Sahara Desert. The name Zimbabwe itself is derived from the Shona words Zimbazamabwe, meaning houses of stone. This description is fitting, as the site is dominated by massive stone walls, enclosures, and towers, all constructed without the use of mortar, a feat of engineering that stands as a testament to the skill and ingenuity of its builders. Great Zimbabwe was the capital of the Kingdom of Zimbabwe during the late Iron Age, flourishing from the 11th to the 15th centuries. At its peak, the site was home to an estimated 20,000 people, making it one of the largest and most influential urban centers in Africa at the time. The complex is divided into three main areas: the Hill Complex, the Great Enclosure, and the Valley Ruins. The Hill Complex, perched atop a granite hill, is believed to have been the spiritual and political center of the kingdom. The Great Enclosure features towering walls up to 11 meters high, and its purpose remains a subject of debate among scholars. One of the most remarkable aspects of Great Zimbabwe is the dry stone masonry technique used in its construction. The granite blocks, carefully cut and shaped, fit together so precisely that the walls have withstood the test of time for centuries. This method of construction, combined with the sheer scale of the structures, speaks to a highly organized society with advanced knowledge of engineering and architecture. While Great Zimbabwe is the most famous, it is not the only stone ruin in the region. The Kingdom of Zimbabwe's influence extended far and wide, and its architectural legacy is evident in several other sites, including Kami, Danamombe, and Nalitale. Kami, located near the modern city of Bulawayo, was the capital of the Kingdom of Butwa, which succeeded Great Zimbabwe in the 15th century. Like Great Zimbabwe, Kami features impressive stone structures, but with its own distinctive style. The site is characterized by terraced stone platforms decorated with intricate patterns, including chevrons, herringbone, and checkerboard designs. These platforms likely served as the foundations for the homes of the elite, with the common people living in simpler structures below. Kami was a major center of trade, connecting the interior of southern Africa with the Indian Ocean coast. Artifacts found at the site, including Chinese porcelain, European glass beads, and Arabian pottery, attest to the extensive trade networks that linked Kami to distant lands. The wealth generated by this trade is evident in the site's elaborate architecture and the luxury goods that have been uncovered by archaeologists. Danamombe, located near Gweru, served as the capital of the Rosvi Empire in the 17th century. The Rosvi were a powerful military state known for their resistance to European colonization efforts. Danamombe, like Great Zimbabwe, features massive stone walls and enclosures built using the dry stone masonry technique. However, Danamombe is distinguished by its unique circular tower, which is believed to have symbolized royal authority. The Rosvi Empire played a crucial role in the history of southern Africa, and Danamombe was a key political and religious center. The site architecture reflects a continuation of the stone building tradition established by Great Zimbabwe, while also incorporating new elements that speak to the evolving cultural and political landscape of the region. Nalitale, located in the Midland province of Zimbabwe, is another significant stone ruin associated with the Towa state, which succeeded the Kingdom of Butwa. Nalitale is particularly renowned for the decorative patterns on the stone walls, among the most intricate and elaborate in Zimbabwe. These patterns, which include herringbone, chevrons, and dentelle motifs, demonstrate the high level of craftsmanship and artistic skill that characterize the builders of Nalitali. The site includes several enclosures and platforms and is believed to have served as a royal residence. While smaller than Great Zimbabwe or Kami, Nalitali is no less important in terms of its contribution to our understanding of the region's history and culture. The site provides valuable insight into the continuity and evolution of the stone building tradition in Southern Africa. The stone ruins of Zimbabwe first came to the attention of European explorers in the 19th century. At that time, colonial powers were actively expanding their empires across Africa, and the discovery of these ruins represented an opportunity to assert European dominance over what was perceived as an quote-unquote uncivilized continent. However, the sophistication and scale of Great Zimbabwe and the surrounding ruins posed a challenge to the prevailing colonial narrative that Africans were incapable of constructing such monumental structures. Faced with this challenge, early European explorers and archaeologists, driven by racial biases and a desire to justify colonial rule, concocted various theories to explain the origins of the ruins. These theories often sought to attribute the construction of Great Zimbabwe and other stone sites to a lost white civilization or to ancient travelers from the Middle East or Asia. Such ideas were rooted in the belief that only non-African peoples could have been capable of building such complex and impressive structures. One of the earliest and most influential proponents of these theories was Karl Marx, a German explorer who visited Great Zimbabwe in 1871. Marx was convinced that the ruins were the biblical Ophir, a legendary city associated with King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. He believed that the site had been built by ancient Semitic people, despite the lack of any supporting evidence. Marx's theories were eagerly embraced by European settlers in the region, who saw them as a validation of their own presence and authority in Africa. The colonial obsession with denying African agency in the construction of Great Zimbabwe reached its peak in the early 20th century when British archaeologist Richard Nicklin Hall was commissioned to excavate the site. Hall, who was not a trained archaeologist, was determined to prove that the ruins were of non-African origin. In his zeal, he conducted a highly destructive excavation, removing and destroying vast amounts of archaeological evidence that could have provided insight into the true history of the site. Hall's work was later discredited, but the damage had already been done. His actions set back the study of Great Zimbabwe by decades. The efforts to attribute the construction of Great Zimbabwe to non-African peoples were not only scientifically unfounded, but also deeply rooted in racist ideologies that sought to undermine African history and culture. However, as more rigorous archaeological research was conducted in the mid-20th century, the true origins of Great Zimbabwe and the surrounding ruins began to emerge. One of the key figures in this process was David Randall McIver, a British archaeologist who conducted excavations at Great Zimbabwe in the early 1900s. Unlike his predecessors, McIver approached the site with an open mind and a commitment to scientific rigor. His work revealed that the ruins were indeed of African origin, constructed by the ancestors of the Shona people. He found no evidence to support the idea of a lost white civilization or an external influence from the Middle East or Asia. Randall McIver's conclusions were later confirmed by the work of Gertrude Catton Thompson, another British archaeologist who conducted excavations at Great Zimbabwe in the 1920s. Catton Thompson's research provided further evidence of the site's African origins and established a clear timeline for its construction and occupation. Her work was a turning point in the study of Great Zimbabwe as it effectively debunked the colonial myths that had long surrounded the site. The recognition of Great Zimbabwe as an African achievement was not just an academic victory, it was also a powerful statement of African identity and pride. The acknowledgement that the ancestors of the Shona people had built one of the most impressive ancient structures in Africa challenged the racist narratives that had been used to justify colonialism. It also provided a sense of continuity and connection to the past for the people of Zimbabwe, who could now reclaim their history and heritage. The stone ruins of Zimbabwe, including Great Zimbabwe, Kami, Danamombe, and Nalitali, are more than just archaeological sites. They're symbols of a rich and complex African civilization that flourished long before European colonization. These ruins represent the achievements of the people who built them, as well as the cultural, political, and economic networks that connected them to the wider world. Great Zimbabwe in particular has become a symbol of national pride and identity for the people of Zimbabwe. The country's name itself is derived from the ruins, and the image of the Great Enclosure is featured in the national flag and currency. The site is a reminder of a time when Zimbabwe was a powerful and prosperous kingdom with a thriving urban centre and extensive trade networks. The other stone ruins, such as Kami, Danamombe and Nalitale, also hold significant cultural and historical value. They provide insights into the evolution of stone building techniques in Southern Africa and the continuity of architectural traditions over several centuries. These sites also highlight the diversity of the region's history, with each ruin reflecting the unique characteristics of the society that built it. Preserving Zimbabwe's stone ruins is a vital task, not only for the people of Zimbabwe, but for the world community as well. These sites are part of the shared heritage of humanity, offering valuable insights into the history of Southern Africa and the achievements of its people. However, they are also vulnerable to a range of threats, including natural weathering, human activity, and environmental changes. Conservation efforts have been underway for many years, with organizations such as the National Museums and Monuments of Zimbabwe working to protect and manage these sites. Great Zimbabwe in particular has received significant attention and was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1986. This recognition has helped raise awareness of the site's importance and to secure international support for its preservation. However, conservation is not without its challenges. The need to balance the preservation of the ruins with the interests of the local communities is a delicate task. Many of these communities have cultural and spiritual connections to the site, and their involvement in conservation efforts is crucial. Additionally, the impact of tourism, while beneficial for the economy, must be carefully managed to prevent damage to the structures. The story of Europe's attempt to claim Zimbabwe's stone ruins is a cautionary tale about the dangers of imposing external narratives on other cultures. The colonial era theories that sought to attribute the construction of Great Zimbabwe to non-African peoples were not just misguided, they were an affront to the dignity and history of the African people. These theories were driven by a desire to undermine African achievements and to justify European colonization. Today, the debunking of these myths serves as a reminder of the importance of respecting and valuing the contributions of all cultures to human history. The recognition of Great Zimbabwe and the surrounding ruins as African achievements has been a powerful act of reclaiming history, restoring pride and dignity to the people of Zimbabwe. In conclusion, the stone ruins of Zimbabwe, from Great Zimbabwe to Kami, Danamombe and Nalitale, are enduring symbols of a rich and complex civilization that thrived in Southern Africa long before European colonization. These ruins stand as a testament to the ingenuity, skill, and cultural depth of the African people. Europe's attempt to claim these ruins was not only futile, but also a profound injustice. Today, these ancient stone structures are celebrated as African treasures, offering valuable lessons about the importance of historical accuracy, cultural respect, and the dangers of colonial arrogance. The legacy of Zimbabwe's stone ruins is one of resilience, pride, and the enduring power of African history to shape our understanding of the world. Thanks for watching this episode. Do remember to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notification bells, and look out for the next one on Africa's Great Civilizations.